Hello everyone. Today I'm going to be going over my Emerald Open 5 redraft power rankings. For those of you who do not know who I am, my name is Martini. I'm mostly known for ADV draft stuff, more specifically in the Zinc Tartufo League Discord. For this power ranking, I'm going to be exclusively looking at the drafts themselves and not at who's piloting them. So we're just going to assume everyone's at the same skill level. Another thing is we're going to be looking at these drafts in comparison to like an average draft, not just what their current matchup or future matchups could be. Starting off, we're going to go over the worst of the worst of the redraft, the abysmal dogshit tier. Surprisingly, the worst, dead last is going to be Zugabu's draft. Very notable as Zugabu is a previous champion of Emerald Open, um, but somehow decided that we're going to be experimental for this redraft, and we hate winning. Um, our His only normal resist and also his only flying resist is the Mawile, which is super dire. Um, Mawile is a Pokemon you want to bring about 0% of the time. If I had to say, if you have to bring this and it's a legitimate like core of your team, you fucked up. You fucked up in your draft. Um, the other notable thing is like this is there's like no progress making on this team. There's like Claydol Boom, I guess, and Heracross for sure. CM Celebi can do some things, but I don't know how much it's gonna get checked. It doesn't really have any other thing that's breaking for it, really. Um, this Umbreon is really weird. I don't really understand what it's doing here. I think Umbreon is pretty bad, especially at 10 points. It's really just setup fodder. It doesn't really do much. You just kind of get subbed on because you're slow, and then they can just set up for free. Funnily enough, I think like one of the best picks on this draft is the Muck, um, because it actually does something. I also think for bringing Muck Mawile, it's another sign that things have really gone wrong. Moving on, we have Claird. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. This draft looked so good. And after every pick after the Blissey just made me like sad. Um, Notice how both of the worst drafts have Claydol. Oh, this is going to be my propaganda piece for the video, talking about how Claydol sucks. Anyways, this Claydol, I mean, it's a good spinner. It's a rock resist, sure. I don't. It's fine. It's like I don't hate it. I just don't think it's best in slot. Um, Definitely this pool Arrow went undrafted, and I think considering the fact that the budget is one here, no matter what we do for our last few picks, Arrow is absolutely better here. Other thing, V5 Gator. We picked Gator on 5. I don't really get that. I think overall in this team, Gator is fine. I just don't know what it's doing being picked so early. I also think they could have probably invested some of their points into a better bulky water as well. I don't think. I think if Gator was picked later, I wouldn't care as much, but the fact that it's picked fifth tells me that they wanted this specifically, and I don't really get that. I also think Breloom sucks, just overall in draft, and I don't think it fits on this team well either. Um, Gligar is a good Pokemon, and I don't think Gligar should be on a team with Claydol at all. They do different but kind of similar things, being floating grounds that check fighters, amongst other things. Xatu is a decent pick. I think Xatu having like it's not like great by any means, but just having like random wish support for 4 points it's neat. I like it. But I just think these last four and arguably five picks are just like such an insane throw compared to what we have for our first three. Next up, moving on to the C tier. These drafts are very playable, but they have flaws that could have been addressed in the draft. First and foremost, Dark Tyros. This draft is like super EQ weak. Our only EQ resist is Pinsir. You can kind of argue that Cloyster helps with this, but not really. Um, it's also we're very Spikes weak, and we have a Cloyster. I just don't think Cloyster's good as like a solo spinner. I'm not very high on it in draft. I think it's a waste of 11 points. I don't think it can do a lot of the things it wants to do. Um, so I was following this draft very diligently, I guess. I was following it through the entire process. And so the Snorlax, Dark Tyrus was talking about how he wanted the Snorlax so bad, and he's going to make the God draft. And then we have Pert Regirock, which is fine. These are fine picks. And then we picked Blaziken, and this is where I start to think like things were getting sniped, and it was really dire. I don't know. This I feel like this feels like a panic pick because I feel like this could have been a cheaper fire. Like this could have been an Entei, this could have been an Arcanine, this could have been Hell, this could have been Houndoom, and it would have been good. Um, I also think that the pincer pick should have been um, Scyther. I don't think that Scyther like saves this draft by any means, but having like some spike immunity slash ground immunity is good. And I also another problem. It also fixes another problem this team has, which is it's super slow. The whole team is outsped by Heracross, which is pretty problematic. This lets like a lot of the mons that usually have to run plus speed natures, they can just run modest or adamant into you, and it's problematic. I mean, you're just going to get beaten down. Yeah, it's just I think what happened with this draft is what happens with every Darth Tyros redraft is he gets this plan in his head for a solid 8 that he wants to draft, and then since you're in a draft pool with 7 other people, your picks are more than likely going to get taken. And so suddenly you have this worsening problem of all your picks being gone and you have to make up for it. Yeah, I, I think he just needs to be more flexible in the future, is my suggestion. Moving on, we have Sleepy. Um, this draft, Raikou Skarm is like pretty solid. Raikou loves spikes. Raikou loves having this physical check that is immune to EQ. Miltank and Gyarados are also great extensions on this team. I think the first 4 picks are super solid. Um, and then we grab Mischievous, and I think in ADV draft, I've been pretty adamant and vocal about saying that all of the ghosts are pretty dog shit because they're too expensive, except for Gengar, who actually does something in most games. This mischievous Pokemon is just like really bad and is overpriced at 9 simply because it's a ghost and it levitates. I think it sucks. I think it's very weak. I think it's hard to justify spending that much on it. We then grab Flygon Meganium, which is like whatever. I think Flygon's fine. Doesn't really. The problem with Flygon Meganium is like it does not address the problems that this team has. It kind of turns it into this weird like Superman-ish team, but bad. Um, it also does not have a not yeah, it doesn't have a duct tape. Here I am reading off the slide. It does not have a good bolt beam resist. Um, you have Raikou, kind of, but you don't really want Raikou taking T-bolts, because if it gets parried, you lose the game. And you don't really want it taking Ice Beams, because if it gets, the more it gets chipped, yeah, you don't want this guy getting chipped, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Um, but most of the time, this team is going to have to go, like, Spadef Miltank, I think, or I guess Spadef Mischievous. I don't really believe in that, but I think Spadef Miltank and having it be like a supportive guy is much better. Next on the list, we have McMegan's draft. This draft is interesting. These first 4 are really weird to me. Zapdos, obviously fine. That's very normal first pick. Hariyama second is really weird. Glalie 3 is fine. That Pokemon is becoming a meta staple, or that Pokemon is a meta staple. It's very highly contested. Um, Doug Trio, I'm going to be neutral about because I don't value this guy in draft at all, but I understand that people do some crazy work with it, so I'm just going to ignore that guy. Um, Tentacruel's interesting. Scissor is interesting. Hypno is really good. Solrock's good as well. Some slight problems. The quick slide for this team is a little hard to play around. Um, I can see T-Tar just kind of coming in and fucking everyone up. Solrock is kind of a Quake Slide answer if you like squint your eyes. Um, yeah, another problem is these last four mons are generally quite weak. Hypno is good, but like Tentacruel, Scissor, and Solrock, I don't think are really helping this team at all. Uh, they solve some problems, I guess. I don't know. I just don't see them. They just don't seem like strong mons are going to do anything. But this is like also McMegan who's going to pull some dumb shit and probably just outplay everyone. So I won't speak too much. Sci-Fire coverage is really good into this team as well. Overall, just a very odd draft. A lot of things I disagree with, but hopefully we'll see McMegan pull some stuff in game that justify this. Moving on, the B tier. B tier, to me, these drafts are very whelming. Um, Lots of good starts with some really odd finishes that don't ruin the draft. They kind of stop them from being great drafts. First and foremost, I'm going to pronounce this guy's name as Noble because I don't know how I'd pronounce it otherwise. Anyways, this draft, interesting. Um, a lot of these guys don't really do anything for each other. Like, there's not really anything that's breaking for this Zam. It's just kind of there. Um, Team's also very EQ weak. Your only real like EQ check is Salamence, which Salamence is a damn good EQ check, but I don't think it's gonna do very well as a solo answer to it. Um, Especially because a lot of these things running EQ can just click slide on the switch, and now we have a problem. Like I said earlier, Zam's kind of weird here. It does lack a lot of breaking power into the special walls. Um, it's going to have to be things like the F punch pert, I believe, is going to be needed to like break Blissey, stuff like that. EQ's fine. F punch is awesome. You might have to boom Regice on Blissey, which usually is like it's a fine trade, but depending upon the team, it could be really undesirable. Quillfish can boom on stuff like Blissey or opposing Regice or Hal, even Chansey. So I guess there's that. Um, Having Explosion be your like main way to break through special walls is dire. Um, this Pert, I don't like it. I don't think Pert is very good in draft in general, as it's when you know it's coming, very weak to the grass that you can kind of just toss on a lot of the things that it usually checks. But I think with having Ments here as well, um, it's acceptable. You're dividing hidden power, whatever this HP bait shit that some people talk about. I guess it's real-ish here. I'll accept it. The other thing is like Hitmonlee Golem definitely could have been something different. Hitmonlee's fine, but I think Golem is just very bad. I think these 5 point there are a lot of good 5 points that you can spend your money on, and I think Golem is not one of them. But overall, kind of solid, has its weaknesses. Whelming. Dusty Dust Noir. So this draft is interesting. I love these first five. I do not get why Flareon is on the same draft as Charizard. I don't think I understand that like the fire weakness is here, and we don't want Charizard to have to take flamethrowers. I get that. Charizard is not exactly the platonic ideal of guy who takes fire moves forever. Um, but I just don't. I think we could have done better than Flareon. We clearly had a lot of points to work with. Um, it could have been with like Grumpig. Grumpig is really good at taking fire moves. I would argue that there is little reason to take the Flareon over the Grumpig. Grumpig with its thick fat having a resistance to fire moves and having that CM makes it a lot stronger than anything Flareon's doing. Another thing to note is that there's another Metajolt Zard draft that I think is executed in a much better way than this. Um, Other than that, yeah, just last three picks are weird, but it's a solid draft overall. Next up, we have another Emerald Open champion, Juronis. This draft is a little odd. There's a lot of things I wouldn't personally do, but I'm not in redraft, so there's that. Um, Starmie D-Knight on Wheel is solid. Arcanine Fortress is interesting. Um, Other than that, like there's seven really solid Pokemon here, and Dugong. Dugong is kind of real. I don't know. I think it has potential, but I also think it's also a fucking dugong. So there's lots of good offensive pressure on this team. Starmie is like known demon that just kills every fucking team ever that doesn't have like Regice or Blissey or Chansey. Um, D Knight's also scary. Arcanine's scary. Fortress is going to take an HP fire, and we're going to laugh at it. Such is life. Sceptile's good. Tauros is good. A thing of note is the special checks on this team are pretty non-existent. Like opposing Starmie looks like it just barrels through this team. Another thing is Steam doesn't really have good Quake Slide. It doesn't have any Quake Slide resists. The best you have is like Counter Fortress, and that requires a lot, I think. And overall, I think this team just wanted like a ground that isn't weak to ground as well. But overall, it's good. I can see this going pretty far, and I can see as I know Geronis as a player is quite good. So we'll just have to see if he gets punished for not having any good special checks. Next up in the B tier, we have Among Us Blaster. This is the other Metajolt Zard team that I was talking about. And I think that Among Us Blaster executes this much better than Dusty Dust Noir. These first five are super good. Tauros Blastoise are excellent Pokemon. And I do like, you can laugh at the Roselia all you want, but I do think that this team needs spikes, and I think Roselia is fine as a 5-pointer. It's probably going to end up getting one spike or maybe even less most games. Roselia is not exactly known for being the strongest Pokemon of all time, but if you can get that spike down, that's enough. I think the last 14 points were completely just chucked into the wind for fun. Meganium feels weird when you just drafted a Roselia that's trying to be your grass. And I don't really know what Camerup's doing on this team. It doesn't help it defensively. It doesn't help it offensively. Just overall weird. You can argue it's fine because you only need to bring 6 every week, but also wasting 14 points like this when you could have you could have either invested into like a 13-pointer that could be slotted into good matchups every week. I think that would have been better than grabbing Meganium Camerupt. Very odd way to round out the draft, but maybe they had a vision I don't. Who knows? And last but not least in the B tier, we got Jabba's draft. This draft, another draft where Alakazam is kind of just like on the team, but doesn't really do anything for it. Um, I there's not really anything breaking for this Alakazam. It's kind of trying to do all of the special damage on this team on its own. Blissey is kind of doing special damage, I guess. Not really breaking. Neither is Blastoise. Again, Roselia. This team wanted spikes. I think Roselia fits on this team much worse than the previous team, just based off of the strength of the Pokemon. I don't know. I don't like it here. I liked it on the previous team, but I don't like it here. I guess that's like kind of weird to say considering it's fucking Roselia, but it just not a fan. That being said, this team has a extremely solid defensive core with this Mensbliss, Hariyama, Blastoise, Steelix. It looks really hard to break through. Um, and I think a lot of the people playing into this are going to be frustrated for sure. It's going to come down to whether or not Java can leverage this defensive core into winning games, which I believe that he can because Java is also like a known great player. Moving on, we have our A tier drafts. These drafts are great, but did not stick the landing. They're not perfect. They have flaws. Tritufo. This draft I wanted to put somewhere between A and B overall. It's very weird. It has the patented Tartufo core of Heracross, Miltank, Entei. This core has been played in multiple tournaments by Tartufo, and it has done very well. So I believe in that, and I think Celebi Milo is a great addition to this. You have that Fire, Water, Grass core. I don't understand what these last 3 picks were. The Ninjask seems really weird. I don't think that this team I don't think it struggles with speed enough to warrant a Ninjask. I don't think anything is really benefiting off of speed other than the Heracross. Sudowoodo is fine, I guess. It's better than Kingdra, which is funny. This team needs a normal resist. Sudowoodo, I think we should have spent our money our 11 points that we spent on worthless ass Kingdra on the pseudo not on the pseudo Wudo. We should have spent the money we spent on Kingdra on like a better normal resist or another defensive piece. Um, yeah, I think Tartufo was high when he drafted Ninja pseudo Wudo Kingdra because there's no other explanation for why we do this. Um, I don't know why we didn't just grab Scissor. Scissor can do the speed pass shit, and it is a normal resist, and it isn't Ninjask. That's pretty notable. Is that it's not Ninjask. What's funny is as of recording this, Tartufo has played his first game. Spoilers if you haven't seen it and you live under a rock, but he gets his shit rocked by an SD Tentacruel and loses like pretty much 3 Mons in the first couple of turns. Uh, this problem would be completely mitigated if we had a Scissor. Just saying. But I'm not him, and I'm sure he's gonna make a lovely losers run. Hopefully, especially because in my predictions I have him winning the whole thing. So he better fucking make a good losers run. Next, ban Manaphy or Mana. This draft is super weird. Yeah, Jackson Pollock draft. Just lots of like good shit thrown on here. Um, this looks weird and it looks like it's bad. The more I thought about it, I don't know. I don't think it has that many bad matchups. Like everything's just kind of average. I don't think it does anything excellent. I don't think it does anything poorly either. Jack of all trades, master of none. Um, Something that was brought up was maybe a little fighter weak, which is fair considering your only like fighter check, quote unquote, is Fortress, and that's kind of dire. Um, Starmie's a fine fighter check, but if it's CB and you get Ghost or HP Ghosted or Shadow Balled on the Switch, you're going to be crying. Moltres is also like a fine fighter check, but again, you have to be really careful. It's kind of a mind game because on obvious switches, they might be clicking S ball on the mid ground to hit the Starmie or the Gengar that might be switching in, but they could also click Rock Slide on the Moltres mid ground. It's hard. Um, just has to play really well. But overall, this is like a really solid draft. And I think that this is going to be at worst like 45-55 odds in most matchups. Next, we have Nal's draft, and Nal has a demon draft. There's a lot of scary guys in this draft. Really solid offensive core. You have the Zap Vap combo that is we've seen in a lot of tours. Aerodactyl, another strong Pokemon, although Aerodactyl with no spikes is a little weird. Might have problems breaking through some of its checks, like the Steelix, like the Swampert, stuff like that. Another thing is that this team does not really have any super good physical checks. You have Marowak as a rock resist, I guess, but other than that, like CB normals like Tauros or shit like the Snorlax are going to give this team a run for its money. That being said, with how this team is structured, this team, like if the opponent mispositions once, this team can kind of just win on the spot, which is notable, as not a lot of drafts can do this. You can argue that a lot of drafts, if someone mispositions, can get ahead, but this draft can just win with positioning itself to agility past to Marowak. It's really hard to come back from that if you misposition. It's got its ups, it's got its downs, but I think I think this draft is going to go far, more or less. Last but not least, in the A tier, well, I guess this is top of A tier, maybe not last. Violet River's draft. This draft is really good. Raikou Registeel Gyarados Donphan is an excellent opener. Crobat Earthstring Slowbo Torkoal doesn't really have any bad problems that I can think of either. Um, the most you can say is that like Crobat, Earthstring, Torkoal are just very like there. They're not super scary, but you also have to respect them, right? CB Bat is a big threat. SD Earthstring also a big threat. I think this draft is good. I think it has a solid matchup into a lot of things, but I think some of the picks definitely could have been better. Torkoal is good at 2 points. I can't really shit talk that, but Crobat Ursaring, like I get why we're grabbing these, but I don't know. I think we maybe could have grabbed something better. Their first matchup, Java, is looking kind of dire. Having to play into the Salamence, which this team is going to struggle into a little bit. But overall, yeah, solid draft. Has some flaws, just kind of not super overwhelming in the bottom tier. It is what it is. I think with a lot of the A tier drafts, other than Tartufo, I think you could literally order these in any way, and I would probably see that you have a good point. Um, like Mana now and River, all have really good drafts, but I don't think they're broken. Speaking of broken, we have the Heat drafts in S tier. Starting off in the S tier Heat drafts, we have Spreek's draft. Very reminiscent of one of H-Clad's old drafts, but it's very solid. Glalie Gengar Spikes is like really good. Obviously you got the Tar. Registeel is a very super good defensive piece. Moltres also solid on this team. Tentacruel Quagsire is like kind of weird, but I do think that the Gligar justifies the Quagsire pick. You have this like nice little HP division thing you got going on here, where they have to choose between grass or ice. Um, yeah, overall, just like really solid. There was no big throws in this draft. Just no glaring weaknesses. Just like it's just a good draft. And on the top of my list, we have Avakiyama's draft. Wow. This team is good. Um, my only like complaint is that maybe it wants spikes, but I don't think it needs it. You have enough offensive pressure. Very solid 8. I could see all 8 of these Mons being brought to a game. Maybe not Duskull without spikes. That seems like probably not what's going to happen. Um, Notably, this team has some problems into CB Ments, but I think with a lot of the teams that I've gone over, I think CB Ments is really scary into a lot of them. Has a solid Firewater Grass core, and of course, Credilli, the GOAT. River has been talking a lot about how Credilli is the 5th best normal resist in a tier full of no normal resists. Um, yeah, just really good. Snorlax is the best first pick according to a lot of people. I think that's like the meta community consensus right now is that Lax is the best mon in the format. I think a lot of these mons just complement it really well. But just really solid draft. Again, no glaring weaknesses. That's why we put an S tier. So this is overall visualizing it. This is what I got. Shoutouts to whoever made the tier list maker for the redraft so I could make this visual. I think it was Scraff because he posted the link. If not, thank you to whoever made that. And Scraff, congratulations on your stolen valor. I'd also like to thank River and Zinc and Chris for helping me make my power rankings. I was in call with them discussing this all of last night. I think we came up with a good list. Good luck to all of the players in top 16. And I think it's going to be a really fun bracket to watch. I don't know how to end this. I'm just going to end it here then. Thanks for watching.